Hello, hello, good.
Okay, you're going to start.
Okay. Good afternoon, colleagues. Welcome to this session. My name is Li Feng Li. I'm the Director of Land and Water Division in FAO. I'm going to co-moderate this session with...
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vidisha Samarasekara, and I'm representing the International Water Management Institute, where I manage the Water and Climate Change Resilience Program. Thank you very much for all of you coming in. Packed room. This is what we were expecting, and we hope that we can deliver.
I think this week, this COP is very exciting, and we keep seeing that agriculture, food, water has been absent from the climate COP process. And this is the first time that we heard by this morning, we heard 147 countries, they already signed. Am I right, Osama? 147 countries already signed the declaration about the resilient food systems, sustainable agriculture, and climate actions. This is for the first time, and we see that countries really come together to recognize, yes, agri-food systems is a big problem and contribute to lots of emissions. However, there is hope that agri-food system solutions are also climate solutions. Really grateful to the leadership, to the support of the countries, and also many individuals. I don't have the list, and it's impossible to speak all of them, but I also want to recognize
Salma Said, come. From the COP presidency.
who's really instrumental to help to get water, get agricultural food into this process.
So this young lady has been instrumental in pushing us. Li Feng and I have had like 4 hours sleep for the past week because we've been working at her instruction, but we have to recognize the great effort and the energy and the commitment that the COP presidency has put behind this very important agenda. Do you want to say a few words?
No, just want to thank you all. And honestly, I don't know. No, it's not me. It's not the COP20 presidency. It's honestly the partners. When we started this whole process and starting the consultations process, everyone was so excited when we said water. It was as if people were waiting for us to say, we want to put water up in the agenda. And everyone just like came up at us, and like we wanted to have this with the groups, and we looked at the different priority areas, and in each priority area, honestly, the excitement from the partners was what kept us going. So thanks, Li Feng, thanks, Vidisha, thanks to all the partners who are in the room, and yeah, don't have much to say because it's really all dependent on the work that the partners have been already doing. And we went into that and we just said we didn't want to reinvent the wheel. The partners are already doing a lot of work, and how can we elevate and work together and coordinate and push and build on UN Water Conference, which was very instrumental and a key moment to build from. So yeah, putting on the spot right now, but thank you so much to everyone and all the partners who I've been really bothering the last 6 months with all my long emails. I can see you nodding with each other. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Another individual I also want to mention here, she got another priority, a COP baby, and that's why she could not join us. Ingrid, I'm sure many of us you know her, and let's hope that once she came back, then she can also join this partnership. Without further ado, now let me invite Mr. Matsomi Mr. Matsomi Majani, and who's the head of the adaptation unit in the UNFCCC Secretariat, who you know him very well, I'm sure, and leading all the works related to adaptation through the UNFCCC process. We are very grateful that this partnership the Secretariat going to be hosted by the Secretariat. But let's use this opportunity to hear from the CCC Secretariat perspective how you see the partnership and going forward. Please, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Li Feng, and thank you to everybody. I just want to say that, yeah, indeed, I'm speaking on behalf of our director, Dr. Youssef Nassef, who couldn't be able to come because of the negotiations that are ongoing, and many of you will be part of them, and you know that. First of all, before I start, let me express my thanks to FAO and, of course, to UMI and other partners that are championing this and organizing this event, which is very important. We see it very key for us. I'm therefore delighted to be part of this event where we are launching the 2-year partnership on water, resilient food systems, which at the Secretariat or the UNFCCC Secretariat, we will be very happy to host initially this initiative within the work that we've already been doing on climate resilient food systems that we've been doing gratefully in good close partnership and working together with FAO, IFAD, WFP, and many other partners that we are together working. While it may seem evident that in our journey to achieve transformative food systems, we need to align with water systems, we are often too used to working in isolation, focus solely on our concerns. And indeed, it is an important moment that we are bringing this together at this COP. And this is precisely why this partnership and the nexus between food and water holds such significant importance. It highlights the critical need for collaboration in our path to adapting our livelihoods and systems to climate change. We have the challenge of achieving a 50% increase in food production needed to feed over 9 billion people in 2050. Working together becomes not only advantageous, but imperative. Given that around 70% of the world's fresh water resources are utilized by food agriculture, it is crucial to coordinate and find synergies among food, water, and climate stakeholders. Food systems are threatened by present practices, including lack of regenerative, sustainable, and resilient food generation. This 2-year partnership is not only an opportunity to work among different food, climate, and water actors, but also a moment to emphasize why we need to change our food systems. The Climate Resilient Food Systems Alliance, as that I mentioned, brings together food and climate actors and stakeholders to pull their comparative advantages, convening power, field presence, and expertise to accelerate the pace towards achieving climate resiliency in food systems. We need to engage more strategically with the private sector to invest, support, and liaise with academia and research centers to work with the latest groundbreaking innovations to shift regenerative agriculture and adopt ecosystem-based adaptation approaches. Following the Secretary General's action for accelerated food systems transformation, the Climate Resilient Food Systems Alliance will support the transition to food in line with the Paris Agreement, ensuring coherence and collaboration among the different existing coalitions. The world is in desperate need, of course, of the change if we need to achieve the SDGs. Our focus must be on fostering sustainable and conscious food production, considering the impacts on local communities due to our current production and consumption patterns. This partnership is a major opportunity for us and the global community to underline these methods and the water and food nexus, offering opportunities to build resilient systems and harmonize interventions ahead of the upcoming conference of the party sessions that are coming in front of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now, I have the great pleasure in moderating the first session. Now, this session is basically going to be looking at how the partnerships aim to support the overall objective of building water-resilient food systems. And so I'm going to, if I may, invite the panelists to come to take a seat. So if we could ask Maria Helena Semedo, Deputy Director General from FAO, please take your seat. Thank you. Mark Smith, from the Director General of the International Water Management Institute. And I'm also very pleased to say that we have Fernando Gomez, Head of Resource Systems and Resilience at the World Economic Forum. And our last but very important representative is Lok Sotha, the Chief Executive of the Cambodian Farmer Federation Association of Agricultural Producers from WFO. Thank you. Okay. We have a lot of questions, and we have a lot of very important people at the panel and also in the audience, and we want to allow an opportunity to hear from our speakers, panelists, but also to hear from you. So if I may, someone needs to give our lady DG a mic. Maria Helena, if I may ask you, could you give us a bit of an explanation of why you see water-resilient food systems so important from an agricultural perspective, and how, provide us with examples of how FAO is promoting these?
Thank you, and thank you for this question. Let's see what is happening around us. We see in the world, 57% of the world will live in 2050 in areas suffering from water scarcity. We have, in this moment, a population that will be 10 million by 2050, 10 billion, sorry, and we need to produce food to feed that population. We'll have water scarcity, and we know that agriculture and food, they use 70% of the freshwater resources. Therefore, having water-resilient food systems is important in a way that we can feed the growing population, but we can also have enough water for the urbanization, industrialization, for other needs that the population and the world will have in terms of economic, social, and also environmental need. And now we need to have it to work together, because the solution is not a solution coming from the agriculture sector. It has to be a holistic solution where the urbanization, industrialization, and this needs to be considered in the national planning at the global level, but also at the community level. The planning for us is important, but also we need to be biodiversity positive, we need to be climate smart. And this is how we consider is important. What FAO is doing? FAO in water in the next 2 years has been considered integrated water management a priority for FAO. We support the countries in their national plans to integrate water. We provide some tools. We have what we call WAPOR, is an artificial intelligence which helps to improve the efficiency in the use of water. Now it has even improved to consider other elements, but we provide policies, we provide technical solutions, and we help to bring financing.
Thank you very, very much. Now, we're going to have to ask the panelists to do musical chairs. I need you all to budge up, because I was remiss in my moderating. I missed to invite my very dear colleague from IFAD to come up and take a seat. So please, if I could ask you to welcome Jahan Chowdhury, who's the Global Lead for Environment and Climate at IFAD. I'm hoping that you can see him. Can we see IFAD? Great. Okay. We'll be too close if you move more. I'm so sorry. We need a bigger pavilion next year. Okay. Thank you very, very much. Now I'm going to move on now to the International Water Management Institute and to my DG. So, Mark, you represent a research for development organization, which I'm very pleased and proud to be part of, which undertakes research that actively promotes the need to integrate water management strategies into broader climate adaptation and mitigation efforts. So my question to you is, what role do you see for knowledge institutions in operationalizing this partnership? That's the first one. And the second part, what are the strategic directions that you feel are necessary to set at the outset? And what would you like to see as outcomes at the end of the duration of this partnership?
So this is an exam.
It is.
Right, okay.
And isn't it great to have the privilege of being able to examine my DG?
Interview. Thank you. The first thing I wanted to say was, we're dealing with, obviously, with food systems and water systems and therefore land, therefore energy, therefore landscapes and biodiversity. And we're dealing with resilience. So this is a systems problem, and it's complex. The way that we need to work needs to be appropriate to addressing complex problems. And I think that that's a basis for your second question as well, the strategic orientation. It has to have that in mind. And I think at the core of that, how do you operate in that kind, relative to that kind of problem? At the core of that is the idea of collective action, right? Yeah. No one actor is going to come along with the resolution to a complex problem. So how do we work? We have to make sure we're working through collective action. So for a knowledge institution like IMI, and that brings research and data and innovation and knowledge to the table in the context of collective action, we have to be asking ourselves, what do we contribute? How do we contribute alongside others in that collective action process? And as IMI, we vary our ethos, our orientation is what we term research for development. So yes, doing research, having the basis for the programs that we run based in science, but very much with the purpose and accounting for our own results relative to impact and change on development, on, in this case, the resilience of food and water systems. So the way we try and orient ourselves to do that is through, increasingly through a mission-driven approach. So a set of missions for our knowledge, research, and innovation that we can bring into that collective action process and work alongside others from the policy world, from the private sector, from the development community, to bring about convergence of everyone's activities around what we can collectively deliver into work on change in complex systems and building in this case, resilience in those systems. So in terms of then the strategic orientation, number one is convergence. So this partnership needs to have at its core bringing means and mechanisms and again an ethos of bringing people into alignment to work on these collective problems. But then also in relation to that, being serious about resilience. Yeah. And being serious about what it takes to build resilience and work on the kinds of changes that you need to build resilience. And that means being able to integrate and join the dots across scales, join the dots across sectors, join the dots between governance and at the higher levels and governance and participation in local action, join the dots with data and skills and knowledge and at all levels, join the dots with networks and how those work and how those can align into the way change happens. And then also, yes, technologies and infrastructure and nature-based solutions and so on. But I very deliberately, when I describe that, I don't start with the technologies, right? And the work of this partnership can't start with the technologies because that's not how you solve complex problems. Your third question?
You weren't paying attention? What would you like to see as outcomes of this partnership?
Coherence in policy that reflects that framework for resilience, what it really takes, working across all those different components, that convergence element, so convergence and alignment across policy spaces, business, et cetera, science. The partnership needs to deliver support around capacity development, around data, et cetera. It needs to deliver support to the parties to the convention, right? That's why it's in this structure. And we need to be serious about that and have that at the center of what we're doing. And it needs to help to align investment that can work in ways that are appropriate to the complex collective action problem that we have to address. So.
Great. Thank you very much, Mark. So I realize that there's a lot of interesting content coming out. You will have an opportunity for questions at the end. So if I may, can I ask you to pass the mic down to our friend Fernando Gomez, who is the head of Resource Systems and Resilience at the World Economic Forum. So Fernando, can I ask you, we are aware, all of us, that the World Economic Forum works with a very diverse set of entrepreneurs across the water, food, land nexus. In light of this, what do you see as opportunities that this partnership might like to consider in moving forward? And what insights can you provide from a private sector perspective that could help us get it right?
Thank you. Thanks for the question, for the opportunity to be here on behalf of the World Economic Forum. What you have just said, Mark, is a perfect segue because for the last decade and a half or so, we have had programs in food and water that were parallel, but two different programs. And actually, the last few years, maybe triggered by the SDGs, have given us the opportunity to think of this as a much more integrated ecosystem. And just as we bring some of these elements together, new opportunities are created, and I'm happy to address one, which is the entrepreneurs and the innovation ecosystem. Innovation in water and innovation in food are actually so closely related that this has opened up as a new area. I completely agree with what you have mentioned. Technology without all the enabling environment is really the sound of one hand clapping. So a number of the elements that need to be brought to maturity as we advance the partnerships that we catalyze as an international organization for public-private, multi-stakeholder partnerships are ideally responding to that. So that kind of innovation that you mentioned, the entrepreneurs, one example is the work that we're doing, actually bringing aquapreneurs, a number of the early stage startups that we have launched a program to identify with real interest from some of our private sector partners, not only to their identification, but to their integration and to the real challenge in many of these cases of early stage innovation, which is the scale-up phase. So our job, as an example, is to bring that interest and leadership to create that enabling environment that not only finds them, and an open invitation for many of you who work in innovation in this space, but also to foster their development and their integration. That's one. The other is, as of course we think about water and food as a part of our global commons. It's a global issue. But the reality is that this is much more global than we tend to think. It is a global issue, but their manifestations of challenges and opportunities, especially in relationship to climate, are very much localized. Another effort that we have started recently is actually our food innovation hubs in countries. So really getting into at the country level, in some cases at a regional level, where we want to understand how that local ecosystem operates and what opportunities we have to channel the leadership, not only of the private sector, but a number of the different type of stakeholders that are in local levels to accelerate not only the development of technologies, but an overall improvement of efficiency and responding to the risks. I want to also echo in my last minute one of the comments that Lifeng made at the beginning, which is this nexus with climate. It's true that we have now a number of vulnerabilities on the food and water system because of what is happening on climate and backwards. Yeah. So not only do we need more resilient food and water systems, we see now that a lot of the food and water solutions are also climate solutions. And this COP has given us a tremendous opportunity to position that we are doing, not only us, all of you are doing, in building more resilient food and water systems as an additional tool, as an additional set of responses to the challenges on climate. So we're quite excited about this, about these opportunities. We're honored to be part of this partnership and looking forward to the next couple of years as we head to Brazil. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And I have to say, Fernando had to come in as a replacement for another WEF colleague, and we couldn't have asked for a better representation. Thank you very much indeed. So if I may ask you to pass the mic down. Lok Sotha, Sotha is the chief executive of the Cambodian Farmer Federation, Association of Agricultural Producers, and is a board member for Asia. He's representing the World Farmers Organization today and will provide a farmer's perspective. So can I ask you, Lok Sotha, given your very extensive experience and the pivotal role of the World Farmers Organization in advocating for farmers' voices in climate processes, what measures can we take to guarantee that partnerships, chosen strategies, benefit farmers on the ground to build that strengthened, water-resilient food system that we're all striving for? What would be, in your view, the value of such a partnership? Please.
Thank you. So I would like to talk the perspective from the farmer organizations. Of course, I come from the World Farmer Organization, board member for Asia. Yes, of course, water and food and agriculture actually are short in the past. They are very relevant. But when I come here, I see waters. Very important. It's the kind of food. So within our organizations, we are ready to be partnerships with all the stakeholders because we represent members in 6 regions, in Asia, in Europe, in Africa, in Oceania, North America, and the South Americas. So, you know, a lot of farmers, from smallholder farmers to medium and large farmers. So we stand ready within WFO to work with our policies on water. And it is a saying that do farm with waters and do work with food. So we cannot do farm without waters. It is a history of the farmers in my country. When there is a climate change comes, especially in the last 3 decades, farmers observe more and more clearer about the climate change. Rain come late and irregularly. Example, in my country, we divide the season into 2. 6 months for rainy seasons, and another 6 months for dry seasons. And the rainy season starts from May till October. And now farmers observe that rain come not in May, rain come in July or August, or even in the dry season, in September, in November or December. It's not in the rainy seasons. So it is clear, when there is a heavy rains, it's easy to get floods. And when farm get flood, destroys not only vegetable, not only rice, but also animals, and the impact of the livelihood of the rural communities. And when there is no rains, it's drought. Farmers are difficult to get access to waters. So to me, water management, irrigation system is key. But farmer alone, farmer organization alone, even we are the big family worldwide, we cannot have all this active. We need to partner with all the stakeholders. And I'm happy today is here, all of you from IFAD, FAO, all of you here from the waters. Yes, we are lucky to sit here and to talk with you. So, you know, we need to be partnership in the PPPP, 4P. People, organization, publics, private, partnership. Without PPP, we cannot achieve the problem of farmers, because farmers need all of you to work together. And we need you involve us, the national farmer organizations, in the development program at the national level. And we also need to voice ourselves as a farmers to the nationally determined contributions and also national national action plans at all the national levels, at all the country levels. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. It's quite interesting. You started off your discussion by saying we cannot do farming without water, and that's really tantamount to the punchline that we have. No water, no farmers, no food. It's as simple as that. Thank you very much, Lok Sota. I'm going to move on, if I may now, to Jahan. Jahan Chowdhury is the Global Lead for Environment and Climate at IFAD. And we're looking here, Jahan, with the question I'm going to pose to you today, is really to give us a financing perspective as an IFI, representing an IFI today. So can you tell us how you think financial strategies and partnerships may be effectively leveraged to support the development of water-resilient food systems? And then the second part of that is, what role do various stakeholders, including governments, private sector, and international organizations, play in mobilizing resources and investments for this objective? You can, indeed.
Sorry, I would like to see my audience. Thank you very much for inviting IFAD here. I'm going to structure this across 3 different categories. I'm going to talk about the climate finance current situation, and then I'll offer a financing strategy, and then I'm going to be talking about the partnership strategy. The first, let's talk about the context. Where are we? If you think about smallholder farmers, they are getting approximately 0.8% of the total climate finance that is floating around. 0.8%. Absolute value of that is $5 billion US. Do you know how much we had spent on McDonald's products last year? $27 billion US. So 0.8, 5 billion going to 500 million smallholder farmers who are producing 1/3 of the food that we are all eating. That is the context. So then the question is, how do we increase the volume and flow of climate finance? So together with NDC Partnership, Amanda is here representing NDC Partnership, so is Zoe as a co-chair of NDC Partnership. Together with NDC Partnership, IFAD have come up with a new white paper where we have looked into the nexus approach. So this is about agriculture, water, swimming in the same lane at the same pace with the same rhythm. So there's a new publication that is available, and here in this publication, we are offering a financing strategy, what we call 4 Bs. So what are these 4 Bs? The first one is about benefit sharing. So before we structure a project, it is important for us to understand who are the stakeholders. And this is not just about one single stakeholders. If you think about the food value chain, there are multiple stakeholders. So how do you ensure that the benefits are spread across these multiple stakeholders, starting from smallholder farmers to producers, to transporters, to private sector entities, to commercial banks? That is super important for us to think about. So that's the first B. The second one is about bundling. It's important for us to think about giving the market signal. And the market signal can come if you're combining various different sectors together. So our analysis, preliminary data show that if we are combining, if we're having a nexus approach between water and food, then your return on investment is going to be 5.1% more compared to a siloed sector approach. That is 5.14% more. So there is a business case behind actually bundling and having a nexus approach. And that is exactly what IFAD together with AFDB as well as EBRD is doing when it comes to NWAFI program, nexus between water, food, and energy. It's a $2 billion program, but that is exactly the bundling approach that we are trying to follow. The next one is, of course, building that pipeline. So you can bundle, but how do you then build the pipeline? And this is where it is important that we are building the business case. So for example, nature-based solution can offer $10 trillion business opportunities. Agroecology can offer $8.5 billion business opportunity. These are the kind of opportunities and business case that we need to present to the private sector, supported through an enabling environment. And that enabling environment can come if these priorities are reflected in NDCs, the national strategy, the sectoral strategy, and the priorities of the finance ministry. So we have a fantastic opportunity actually to bring this nexus approach when it comes to the revision of the NDCs that will start in 2024. So what we would like to see, hopefully this partnership can help, is having a nexus approach embedded in the updated NDCs in 2025. The last one is about blending. So the public sector, yes, has a role to play, but doesn't have sufficient fiscal space. And that's the reason why we need to bring the private sector, different players deploying different kind of instruments. We have just recently launched a program in East Africa. It's a $200 million program where GCF and us, together with few other bilateral agencies, have come together, deployed $90 million as a first loss facility. And that $90 million has brought a bank, a commercial bank, with another $90 million investment. And that had only happened because of the deployment of the risk mitigation instruments. But these instruments are not sufficient. We also need to think about grant, because when it comes to innovation, when it comes to pilot testing, grant is going to work as a springboard. So let's not forget about the grant, but it is the combination of these instruments that can make a project happen. Partnership. So I talked about benefit sharing, I talked about bundling, blending, building. So in terms of the partnership, we all have our comparative advantages. So the key thing here is, where do I place various different partners depending on their mandate to act, capacity to act, resources to act across these 4 Bs. And I think that the connection, connecting the dots and making sure that we are deploying these partners to implement one of these Bs can make magic happen. Thank you.
Okay, no, thank you so much, Jahan, and apologies for not putting you to sit there, because I thought you would be covered. I was going to shift the chairs along. So look, this ends the first session of this very interesting discussion. I'm going to hand over now, if I may, to my colleague Li Feng. And if I could ask the panelists now to go back to the audience, and you're going to introduce the next set. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vidisha. I think we heard, from the first panel and what all the partners can offer, and what's the urgency, what's their expectations, and through this panel, then let's look at how we can build upon some of the existing initiatives, learn from them, and really to try to achieve the expectations, objectives of this partnership in 2 years' time. With that in mind, let me invite the panel members to join me. Jitoni Odada, the Deputy Director of Office of Climate Change, Environment and Biodiversity of FAO. 4 colleagues, can you hold Jitoni to join us? And also Dr. Zoe Norgate, the Deputy Director of International Net Zero Climate Financing and Capacity Building, UK Department of Energy Security and Net Zero. She's also the co-chair of NDC Partnership. Thank you very much for you to join us. And also Lindsay Sarah, who's from World Farm Organization. And then Letitia, who represents the Youth Secretariat of International Council of Extractive Populations. Letitia, yes, please. With now the panel ready. Yes, Jitoni, please. Very good timing. Yes, I know you. Do you mind to sit here? I think we got enough chairs. Good. Thank you. And then okay. Okay, good. With that, let's hear some of the specifics. As I said, how we can build upon some of the existing initiatives, partnerships in the next 2 years to contribute to the new partnership for water resilient agri-food systems. Jituni, I think we heard that Deputy DG already shared her view, but specifically from your perspective, especially how the FAO and UNDP SCALA program, can help to build this partnership, and also what we can learn some of the lessons, from the SCALA program, please.
Great. Now, thank you, Lifeng, and good afternoon, everyone. So happy to share with you some lessons from this program we have with UNDP, focusing on adaptation, and I will give some examples on water in particular. I think you already heard, the whole energy on this day today, on water and food and agriculture, and it's great to be at this level where we are now. So this program with UNDP is on scaling up climate ambition, on land use and agriculture through the NDCs and NAPs, National Adaptation Plans and Nationally Determined Contribution. And this fits in the overall support that we provide to countries as FAO and other UN agencies like UNDP, and working in collaboration to help countries actually include the issues of adaptation, of water in their national planning to tackle mitigation and adaptation. We're very grateful to Germany for supporting this program. There are 12 countries that benefit from it in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America. And it's a targeted support that focuses on building capacity and helping develop projects as well. And I think with the increased political attention that we have at this COP, particularly with this first ministerial dialogue on building water resilient food systems, it's very encouraging to see the attention given to this topic. And this increased attention, we really hope that is going to generate more support to countries and to farmers and to smallholder farmers, and building on what we've been doing already and hopefully scaling that up so that other countries and communities can benefit from it. So just to give you a couple of lessons that we learned from this program, it's really about a lot that we can learn in working together and working in partnership. There is a lot that we can learn by working together. And while we're focusing on water, on an adaptation, the key thing is to be able to deliver other benefits as well from what we're doing. So not just to focus on one single thing we're trying to address, but there is interconnection with other areas as well. And we're trying to deploy more technical expertise and at the same time help to mobilize financing as well. So for example, the SCALA program in Ethiopia and in the support that has been provided to Ethiopia, we've been working to build this water resilient food systems as part of their national adaptation plan. So it's really very specific to the adaptation and looking at the issues of gender and also the issues of engaging private companies in this exercise, especially mapping the engagement and role of private companies. And this is focusing on building 2 selected micro watersheds in Ethiopia. And this evidence is going to help to formulate more initiatives in the country. And one of the lessons learned from this is really the lack of data. It's the lack of information and how we need to collect and analyze system-level data. It's really local and context-specific information. And this is particularly critical to adaptation and dealing with adaptation. And my last example is on the Scala program in Egypt, which has been, as you know, Egypt is really in one of the world's most water scarce region, and it has the Nile River that is benefiting many communities, but is considered one of the 3 most extremely vulnerable mega delta to be directly affected by climate change. And about 3/5 of Egypt's food is produced in the agricultural lands in the delta. So it's very critical for food security and for people's livelihoods, particularly for smallholder farmers. And clearly here, climate action at the water food systems nexus is crucial for a country like Egypt. And adaptation is important, and that's why in the Scala program, we're supporting Egypt in preparing its NAP and in addressing the water issues as well. So just to finish, I think to put this in the context, as you know, there is an overall or global goal for adaptation in this context, and it's rightly so, and it's good that it's receiving more attention. Water is one key aspect of adaptation, particularly for agriculture, because agriculture is water, food production is water. They're so interlinked, and it's good that we're seeing this attention really being given to this to go forward with adaptation. Why? Because we've been focusing a lot on mitigation, a lot on reducing emissions, and we have to, because we haven't done enough on mitigation. And that's why we need to do more on adaptation now. We left it so late that we didn't reduce emissions at the level we should be reducing it. We're still far away from reaching the 1.5 degree. And now we have no choice but to deal with mitigation and adaptation at the same time. So it's really daunting. It's the costs are higher, not just economic, but environmental and social as well. So I hope this helps, Lifeng. Just share with you 2 countries, and very happy that adaptation is receiving this attention. And again, very sorry I have to sneak away. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jituni, for your sharing both the examples, but also some of the challenges that, also lessons, we can learn from that initiative. Thank you very much. I understand you have other commitment, but I'm really grateful for your contribution. Let's move on to our next panelist. Zoe, we are so lucky to have you because you can speak both from the country perspective, but also you are the vice chair of the NDC partnership, so you can see how the partnership can also really help to support this going forward. So what opportunities do you see for the countries to work through and work with this partnership and the NDC partnership to really to integrate the water resilient food systems into their NDCs and possibly NAPs? Please.
Great, thank you. And yes, I'm speaking today as the outgoing co-chair of the NDC partnership after 3 years of having that privilege. So just in case anybody doesn't know what the NDC partnership is, we're a partnership, a bringing together of around 220 members. So that's around 120 countries and around 100 development institutions, organizations. And I suspect we have many people in the room who are part of the partnership. So, for example, IFAD and FAO and WFO, I'm sure there are more of our partners in the room. And what we do through the partnership is to support actively currently over 90 countries to think through what action they need to take to deliver their climate commitments. So to formulate their NDCs, to think about how to build the capacity and the governance across their governments, their systems to implement their NDCs, and then to start the work of planning investments and preparing to do that. So in the partnership, and Amanda, who is here from the support unit, can tell you more if you're interested, we have quite a lot of toolkit and best practice around how to do this process for planning and implementing NDCs. And there is a fantastic matchmaking service, should we call it, where countries come with their needs and their asks, and the partnership will find from across all of our members the resources in a coordinated way to support that country, whether it be through having embedded staff, facilitators in the ministry to lead all of this work, through technical assistance, through making the links to financing partners. So the partnership model is really all about country ownership. And NDCs, by definition, are nationally determined, very context-specific to that country. And the level of granularity in NDCs is very variable, and that's, you know, one of the things that we really want to see more, and I think Jahan and others touched on, is that with the growing climate impacts, you know, affecting water availability, this is such a critical issue to put water at the heart of decision-making in the agriculture sector and more broadly in NDCs. So we're really hoping it will become a stronger feature and element of countries' NDCs going forward. And our data from the countries we work with, so in the NDC partnership, I think we've had 5,000 and something requests so far for support, the vast majority of which we've met, but certainly agriculture is a big area for requests. I think it's the second highest area now that people are asking for support with. But many countries are not necessarily aware of what the opportunities are, the kind of concrete things that can be done, or how to prepare targets, actions, investments, you know, across water-resilient food systems. And there are quite a lot of barriers, we know, to doing this as well, and, you know, particularly to integrating targets and measures that really signal the importance of water in NDCs. There are capacity gaps, we know this. So I think there's a big opportunity, really, as we reflect on the outcomes of the global stocktake and we look ahead to 2025. We saw in the last round of NDC updates, many countries expand their sectoral targets and ambitions. And through the NDC partnership, more than 30 countries expanded their coverage of agriculture, forestry, and land use. So in the next round, we'd like to see that number increase even more and a much greater prominence for water and food systems. And I guess the take-home message is the partnership is standing ready to support that. The types of support that we can help find for countries are analytical work and stakeholder engagement, for example, for baseline information and assessments that are aligned between water and agriculture sectors. We can support with investment planning, access to finance, thinking about investments in an integrated way across sectors, the development and maintenance of national MRV systems, and support for wider alignment with national policies. And we have some examples already, countries that are doing that. So, for example, in Laos, they're working with FAO and UNDP, who are part of the NDC partnership, to conduct needs assessments for water resource management for climate-smart agriculture. And we have the FAO and the WFP working in Mozambique to modernize water resource monitoring stations for early warning systems in agriculture. So there's a lot we're doing. We're particularly working around stronger guidance for countries to integrate water-resilient food system into their NDCs. And the partnership together with WWF and BMZ have just launched a new NDC guidance tool on agriculture and food systems, which hopefully is a useful resource to policymakers and practitioners across the piece. So in conclusion, you know, we will do our best through the partnership and all of our members, including the organizations here, to try and support countries' needs in this area. And I'm sure by acting together, we can achieve much more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joy, but also thank you, Amanda, you know, for supporting the NDC partnership and also help to put these sessions together. Let's continue to hear the other perspectives and give the floor to Lindsay Sarah, who is from Ivory Coast, with experience and also lots of thought leadership from the fishery perspective. And certainly you have heard from us that this partnership really try to help the countries to include food, water, agriculture into the NDCs and the NARPs. But from your perspective, hearing all of these aspirations, and from your perspective, can you tell us what you feel will be the value of this partnership, and what do you think are the fundamental elements that we cannot afford to miss? Please. I guess you will have interpreter? Okay. Please.
Merci. Mesdames et messieurs délégués de la COP 28, c'est avec un immense honneur que je partage ma vision de la construction des systèmes alimentaires résilients à l'eau en Afrique subsaharienne. Je suis Junong Botaline Sessara, jeune agriculteur, membre de l'Association nationale des sémenciers de Côte d'Ivoire. Je suis fière d'être ici, de représenter mon beau pays, la Côte d'Ivoire, mais aussi les jeunes agriculteurs du monde entier, les jeunes agriculteurs du Gymnasium 2023, de l'Organisation mondiale des agriculteurs, qui est un collaborateur très engagé dans ce partenariat que nous lançons aujourd'hui. Ma passion pour la pisciculture intégrée,
I don't know, how do you prefer, what do you...
OK. Ma passion pour la pisciculture intégrée a toujours guidé mon parcours. Cette fusion de l'aquaponie, de la culture d'hydroponie et des systèmes d'énergie durable alimente encore mes aspirations. En tant que jeune pisciculteur, je reconnais l'importance cruciale de l'eau pour tous les agriculteurs et l'ensemble de la société. Et je suis ravie qu'elle occupe une place importante dans l'agenda de la COP 28. Ce partenariat, pour moi, offre une opportunité unique dans un monde qui est confronté aux défis de variabilité climatique et de sécurité alimentaire. Cette opportunité unique, c'est de placer la jeunesse et l'innovation au cœur des systèmes alimentaires résilients à l'eau. C'est des partenariats intersectoriels sont fondamentaux, mais je souligne que l'implication, le succès de ces partenariats dépend véritablement de l'implication directe des agriculteurs dans la conception et la mise en œuvre des initiatives. Je pense aussi que les perspectives des organisations paysannes, des organisations, notamment des organisations de jeunes agriculteurs, sont essentielles pour garantir la pertinence et l'efficacité des initiatives, mais aussi pour combler le fossé entre les discussions mondiales et les réalités locales. Agriculteurs comme jeunes agriculteurs sont prêts à apporter leur contribution, à apporter leur expertise et surtout à collaborer avec toutes les parties prenantes. Je pense qu'ensemble, nous pourrons construire des systèmes alimentaires résilients à l'eau qui répondent aux besoins, aux objectifs mondiaux. Je vous remercie.
Ladies and gentlemen, COP28 delegates, it is with immense honor that I share my vision for building water-resilient food systems in sub-Saharan Africa. My name is Sarah Lindsay Zunong Botta, young farmer and member of the National Seed Makers Association of Côte d'Ivoire, proud to represent my country and the Gymnasium 2023, a capacity building program of the World Farmers Organization, which is a member of the partnership that we launched today. My passion for integrated fish farming has always guided my journey. The strategic fusion of aquaponics, hydroponics, and sustainable energy systems fuels my aspirations. As a young fish farmer, I recognize the crucial importance of water for all farmers and all of society, and I'm delighted that it is high on the COP28 agenda. This partnership offers a unique opportunity in a world facing the challenges of climate variability and food security. It allows us to place youth and innovation at the heart of water-resilient food systems. Cross-sectoral partnerships are fundamental. Yet, I emphasize that their success depends on the direct involvement of farmers in their design and implementation. The perspectives of farmers' organizations, especially young farmers' organizations, are essential to ensure the relevance and effectiveness of initiatives, as well as to bridge the gap between global discussions and local realities. Farmers and young farmers are ready to provide their contribution, their expertise, and to collaborate with all stakeholders. Together, let's build water-resilient food systems that meet global challenges. Thank you for your attention and for the opportunity to contribute to this crucial initiative.
Thank you. Thank you, Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much for your contribution. It's really grateful. As we know, that all our food is produced by the farmers. And the farmers, they are the steward that manage 70% of human freshwater withdrawals on a daily basis, right? So certainly, thank you so much for your readiness to be part of this, the partnership going forward. Let's continue with the panel. Now we have Letitia, and also she is young, and also she represents the Youth Secretariat of the National Council of Extractive Populations. And we really look forward to your contribution, Letitia. I really wonder whether we could take you into a walk into the future, and imagine that we're gathering together again at the COP30. And can you tell us what would you like to see as the primary achievement of this partnership by then? And what would be the expectations from the indigenous people's perspective in Amazonia, and also from the global indigenous people's community? And I understand you will be speaking Spanish, then someone will Portuguese, someone will. Yes, thank you. Please.
Boa tarde.
Good afternoon.
Gostaria de iniciar essa fala com uma música da minha região que diz: Esse rio é minha rua.
I'd like to start my part with a song from my region that's called. Carimbó. It's Carimbó.
Meu nome é Letícia Moraes. Eu sou líder das populações tradicionais extrativistas da Amazônia brasileira, no Marajó, no estado do Pará.
My name is Letícia Moraes. I'm a leader of the extractivist people in Marajó, in Pará.
E é muito importante estar nesse espaço, dialogando com vocês, para falar que no Brasil, nós, de povos e comunidades tradicionais, somos 28 segmentos.
It's very important to be in this space and to tell you that in Brazil, our traditional communities are a part of 28 traditional communities in our region.
Povos indígenas, comunidades quilombolas, comunidades extrativistas e muitos outros segmentos.
Indigenous people, quilombola people, extractivist people, and a lot of other segments.
Por isso é muito importante compreender a Amazônia e a necessidade de se pensar as COPs a partir dessa diversidade sociocultural.
And that is why it's very important to understand the Amazon and its diversity, social and cultural diversity.
Nessa COP, ouvimos falar muito sobre a floresta, e floresta, não existe floresta sem pessoas.
In this COP, what we have been saying a lot is that we've been talking a lot about the forest, and we've been saying that there is no forest without people.
E nós somos essas pessoas que reproduzimos as nossas identidades através dos rios, da floresta, do nosso modo ancestral de compreender o território amazônico.
And we are those people, and our identity represents the way we use the rivers and the forest itself and the Amazon.
Temos uma luta histórica para que os nossos territórios sejam reconhecidos, territórios indígenas demarcados, reservas extrativistas tituladas.
We have a historical struggle to defend our territories, to demark our territories.
E falo disso porque é muito importante para nós que que o reconhecimento do território ele esteja de forma transversal atendido pelas políticas públicas.
And I say that because it's very important to have our territory being recognized as a part of public policy.
E o uso da água e a importância da água, da agricultura familiar, ela está nesse contexto inserida.
And the use of water and the importance of water is inserted in this context.
Nós trabalhamos com uma sociobiodiversidade que tem um papel fundamental para a conservação do planeta.
We work with a great social and biodiversity that is very important for the planet.
E a água é essencial para isso, para o nosso modo de reproduzir da produção da agricultura familiar, mas também dos nossos modos ancestrais de compreensão do nosso território. A água é fundamental.
Water is fundamental for the reproduction of this family agriculture.
Estamos vivendo uma crise climática em que a seca, a estiagem têm cada vez mais crescido nas nossas comunidades.
We have been living this climate emergency and the droughts have been really hard on our communities.
E a água não é apenas o nosso rio, como a nossa rua, como eu falei no início da nossa fala, mas ela é também o local de onde nós pescamos, o local de onde nós tiramos a nossa religiosidade.
The water from the rivers is not only our street, but it's also where we take our food and where we connect with our ancestors.
Se temos esse acesso afetado, isso significa que a nossa segurança alimentar nutricional também está afetada.
If the access to water is affected, that means that our food security is also affected.
Por isso, não podemos pensar a água como mercadoria.
And that's why we can't think of water as a product.
Precisamos pensar ela e no uso sustentável do que ela pode e que ela reflete para as nossas comunidades.
We have to think about water in a sustainable way and in the way that it's going to reflect in our communities.
E nós, mulheres extrativistas, temos uma relação muito especial com a água.
And we, extractivist women, have a very special relationship with water.
Por isso, eu gostaria de dizer que um grande aprendizado que essa parceria pode trazer é fazer com que realmente os investimentos eles cheguem às nossas comunidades.
A great learning opportunity for that is to think that the investment, to make the investment really reach our communities.
E pensar a Amazônia não apenas como a sede da COP no ano de 2025, mas como um espaço de existência de pessoas.
And we need to think of the Amazon not only as the space where COP30 is happening, but where there is a diversity of people living.
Obrigada.
Thank you.
Boa tarde a todos. Eu me chamo Valesca e sou de Belém do Pará.
Good afternoon. My name is Valesca. I'm from Belém of Pará.
E eu precisava estar aqui para falar sobre a Amazônia periférica e urbana.
I wanted to be here to represent the peripheries of the Amazon and the urban Amazon.
Um dos principais caminhos que devemos considerar até a COP30 é a priorização do acesso ao saneamento básico.
One of the main challenges that we have to consider until COP30 is the prioritization of the access to basic sanitation.
É preciso pensarmos em uma COP que considere as periferias da Amazônia urbana, que lidam diariamente com os desafios de acesso a direitos básicos.
We need to think of a COP that recognize the peripheries of the urban Amazon, which deal daily with the challenges of the lack of access to basic rights.
A nossa região apresenta os piores índices de acesso a saneamento e água para a população.
Our region presents the worst index of access to water and basic sanitation for its population.
Por isso, é preciso pensar em uma COP que invista nos povos da Amazônia e na infraestrutura também da nossa região.
So that's why we need to think of a COP that invests in different peoples from the Amazon and in the development of the region.
Queremos legado positivo para o nosso território, que considere o impacto social, ambiental e econômico para a nossa população.
We need a positive legacy for our territories, which consider the social, environmental, and economic impact for our population.
Investir na Amazônia não pode ser uma medida isolada.
Investing in the Amazon can't be an isolated measure.
Deve ser um compromisso contínuo, reconhecendo que a potencialidade da nossa região está ligada ao envolvimento de toda a nossa população.
It must be a continuous commitment, recognizing the potentiality of the region, which is attached to the active involvement of the local population.
A infraestrutura de saneamento e acesso à água é fundamental, não apenas para a COP, mas como investimento permanente para a nossa população.
The infrastructure of sanitation is fundamental, not only for COP, but as a permanent investment that impacts positively the quality of life and the environment.
As parcerias construídas com o Brasil devem ser construídas sobre bases que vão além das fronteiras temporais da COP.
The partnerships built with Brazil must be built on the basis that go beyond beyond COP and aiming for the protection of the Amazon and its peoples.
Investir na Amazônia vai além dos aspectos ambientais. Considera-se os aspectos sociais e econômicos.
To invest in the Amazon goes beyond the environmental aspects. It goes also for the social and economical aspects.
Concluo ressaltando que os compromissos formados com o Brasil devem ser duradouros.
I finish my presentation by saying that the commitments formed with Brazil must be for the future as well.
Nenhuma ação pensada para a Amazônia, sem envolver seus povos, será concreta.
No action thought for the Amazon without involving its people will be concrete.
Não queremos apenas que as nossas demandas sejam atendidas.
We don't want only for our demands to be attended.
Mas queremos uma Amazônia em que possamos viver com qualidade de vida.
But we want an Amazon that we can live with a quality of life.
Nada sobre nós sem nós.
Nothing about us without us.
Obrigada.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for offer the view from the youth and also from the indigenous people's perspective. Also thank to two ladies have to translate that and for us to understand the very important input. Very grateful to that. With that, let me now hand over back to Vidisha and the panelists. Maybe you can take the seat in the audience. I think now we do have time that we can hear from you, the audience, if you have any questions and remarks or suggestions on this partnership going forward. I'll come to the mic.
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, the floor is yours. If there's any questions, we've had a lot of very interesting content provided by a very diverse set of panelists. If there are any questions, I'm ready to receive them. I'm also looking for... Nope. Going? Oh, there we go. Yeah, please.
Hello. Thank you. It was really interesting. I just have a question on the partnership. Could we know which countries and which partners will be included apart from the ones that were present in the launch of the partnership?
So, my friend Li Feng, come here. So I don't know how much you're aware, there was a ministerial in the morning, and this partnership follows that ministerial. So right now, I think 147 countries have committed. to this, to being part of this. But that doesn't also close the door. There are opportunities for countries that are interested, and if this speaks to their priorities, we would very much welcome them working with us and collaborating and being part of this as we go forward with the implementation. So in a nutshell, the more the merrier. Happy to accommodate. Any other questions? Adrian, please.
Thank you, Adrian Sim from the Alliance for Water Stewardship. And apologies because I missed both the ministerial and the beginning of this session. But are there going to be ways for other groups to contribute to the partnership?
Absolutely. So I think this is also an opportunity coming out of this discussion for people to come and be in touch with us. There's an advisory committee that's helping to put this partnership, operationalize this partnership. And we would be very willing, IMI is a member of that advisory committee, as is FAO, the World Economic Forum, numerous others, IFAD. So please come forward if there's interest. We would welcome looking at ways of joining arms, hands even. Thank you. Any other questions? If not, I'm going to draw this to a close, and I'm going to invite our dear friend, Nate Matthews, to come forward from the Global Resilience Partnership to give closing remarks, and I don't envy him in that task. I hope you took good notes.
Thank you so much. And first I'd like to say, I know it's already been mentioned, but a big thank you to all the partners, and especially Salma and Ingrid for pulling together the first ever ministerial on water resilience in food systems at a COP. It's about time. So a big round of applause to them. And as Vidisha mentioned, it's been such a rich set of interventions that it's really difficult to summarize. But there's a few points that particular stood out for me. So from the first panel, I think that the points on planning across national, local, regional levels and really engaging a diverse set of actors is critical. We know this, and it's easy to say, but it's hard to do. So we have to keep that at the forefront of our minds. The recognition that this is very much a systems problem is also really critical, and that we need to think strategically about how we contribute to collective action, especially made by Mark Smith there. And also, I really enjoyed the point about being serious about resilience. Too often we throw resilience in as a throwaway word. And so when we talk about resilience within the Global Resilience Partnership, we're really thinking about the transformation component. And that's the novel ways of stewarding ecosystems, the novel ways of building water resilience, the novel ways of creating livelihoods. And so that novel idea, I think, is really critical when we think about transformation. Then also the fundamental role of entrepreneurship and business leadership and building a pipeline here, I think, is also really central. We need entrepreneurship, we need the innovation that they propel, and we need the business cases and those sustainable business solutions to drive forward, so we're not always reliant on public money. The engagement at the NDCs is really key, and also the role of public-private partnerships and de-risking, I think, was also really, really critical there. And also, obviously, the critical role of farmers. We can't forget that farmers are the global stewards of our water, recognizing that about 80% of water worldwide is used in agriculture. So they are really the stewards of our water systems, and also the key stewards of our biodiversity, given how important biodiversity is to farming systems. And so that's really also central. And so just to wrap up, I just think, we're in the midst, as we all know well, of a polycrisis. And in our hyper-connected world, it is important that we use the opportunities and we approach these opportunities and challenges from a systems perspective, as we've discussed, but not just from one that just recognizes not just the global dimensions of water, but really recognizing that water is so central to the solutions and the challenges that we're facing within this. And, often when we talk about systems, it's really easy to get lost in that complexity of them. And I think it's critical when we're dealing with water that we aren't letting
ourselves get stuck in that complexity. So we have to use, as has been so well highlighted here, the power of partnerships, the power of youth, the power of technology, and the local and diverse sets of knowledge to navigate these systems and to ensure that the complexity doesn't curtail our ambition and the pace of change that we need in the midst of the biggest economic transformation in human history, and water is so central to it. So let's get to it. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Nate, for the excellent closing remarks. And now the session is completing, and really grateful to your active participation. And don't forget, today is Food, Agriculture, Water Day. Very happy Water Day to all of you, and very glad to see water mixed to the water, agriculture, food really get such visible at this COP. Let's come back to celebrate. 6:30, please come back. We have a reception, and also we are also going to launch another report that's focused on integrated flood management. So let's celebrate with the flood. Thank you very much.